Hey, good evening. Well, before I actually start this video, in which I would like to touch on the differences in how your budget is to be handled when you come over to the Philippines. But I suspect that you have already had these kind of discussions when you've been living abroad, and maybe it's resulted in divorce. What do they say? Successful marriage, marriage that is based on two important things: on sex and on money. And so neither wants to do without either, if that's not too complicated a way of putting it. But if you enjoy this even halfway through, please like, comment and subscribe, and it helps us a great deal now that you have started sharing our videos, because the great God algorithm, according to Mr. Z, who was recently seen kissing the other part of Donald Trump's anatomy, has been saying that there's no censorship and it's that freedom of speech is rampant. It's not. We're still having to, in a lot of ways, not say certain words. Okay, so please, it will help us a great deal, and thank you for sharing. Now, what I wanted to go into was the fact that when foreigners come over here, they are coming over with probably either an ATM card or something similar that allows them to be able to draw money. For myself, I have one ATM card and one bank account, and both of my modest pensions go straight into that one account. Now, after many years of handling a lot of money and doing a lot of help through our mission, we struggled, actually, because of so much opposition and trouble that was made by various expat-run sites who took it into their mind that it was easy views to talk about what was happening to Terence and Beth as they struggled to establish a state registered, that, in other words, a Philippine registered charity. We did struggle. It took us almost 4 years of sending applications in, having them refused, sending them back again amended, having them refused, and then finally we had a refusal that said everything is fine, but the dates are wrong. Well, yes, the bloody dates were wrong, because we've taken so much time to have to get their other added requirements. So we changed all the dates and sent them back, but by that time they had new requirements, so it was sent back again. 6 or 7 applications over 3 years, and that's what it took. So sometimes people message me and they tell me that they would like to come over to the Philippines and change things here, which in our naivety we decided that we would too, but we were looking at a grassroots level of what to do: mending and repairing and replacing, rebuilding, building tumble down houses for people who would otherwise have no hope. So we did have the motivation to do things in the present. Lots of other people of the best of intentions are writing to me and saying that when they come here, they're disgusted by a certain thing. One subscriber recently, in the last couple of weeks, wrote and said, it really needs to be cleaner. Children need to be taught not to just throw litter on the ground. And he is absolutely correct. That does need to be done. But there's a resistance to foreigners coming over, and where Filipinos, understandably, are going, who that? Oh, another bloody foreigner thinks they can change everything. I had one who was a mason. He was good at his job, and I believe him. A Brit who thinks he's good at his job is going to be good. That's my experience, even though it is perhaps slightly biased because I am a Brit. But he was going to come out here and he was going to change the way that they do that disgraceful block work. And of course, he would come and he would have a limited amount of effect, and then he would give up and just choose to live a happy life. So, back to one of the burning subjects which has been up for the last week, and that is how people have said that, one man has said, no, absolutely not. The Filipina should be given a budget and she should work within that budget, and the account or accounts and ATM cards should be held by the man and controlled by the man. He is the support. He is the provider. So that's it. It's a very strong viewpoint, and for the softness of a Filipina, believe me, it's burnished steel under that soft exterior. Okay, they're not the stereotypical submissive Asian lady that perhaps we've seen in Chinese movies, where they speak in little piping voices and are subservient and keep going like this to the master of the house. If you're looking for that, I wish you all the best. If you find it, could you drop us a line, because that will be a really unusual letter. So, what do others say? The happiest people that I've found, the happiest foreigners, are the ones that change with the environment and what it teaches you. And I've used these examples before. Then it's not financial, but it's the cultural thing. The culture shock, the culture gap between a foreigner and a Filipina is not this is what I think of as a gap. No, the difference is Grand Canyon-esque. Okay, there are so many things that are different that you have to adjust to, and that if you knew up front might even be deal breakers. Bloody hell, I'm not going over there if I've got to do that, and you will be right. But for the second or third chance that many foreigners are given when they come out here, you may decide that, it's difficult, but it's worth it, as I feel that it's worth it, even though there are many things which are not the perfect thing. When you get to a certain age, which I won't mention, which you can see on the lines on my face and the colour of my hair and even my moustache, that I actually don't want to be bothered with a lot of household things, problems, chores, and everything gets handled by Beth. Now, I'm being brutally honest here now, and she'd probably hit me over the head if she ever watches this video, but we have a 5-year, I call it a 5-year dream project, and that is to build an inland resort. A lot of people say if it's not a white beach, it's never going to work, but it's not true. There are many inland resorts which we go to, which I've celebrated birthdays at, and are not a white beach, but contain everything that you would want inside. Place where you can rent a room to stay, a hotel room. You can rent a small, they call them cottages, with a table and benches, and you can put your food on. You can bring your own food. There's all kinds of things that you can do in an inland resort. So, sorry, I'm looking, there's little windows flashing up on the screen. So, for Beth and I, when I came here, I was pretty well broke. And to make matters, I could live, but I didn't have money to spare. I spent over 100,000 pesos on having a Volkswagen Beetle refurbished. It was restored. I spent at least 100,000 on it. And so later, Beth and I had a big adventure, and we drove down from Mabalacat in that Beetle, going from island to island on the ferries. Great fun, big experience. And we did it with hardly any money. At one point, we pulled into a gas station. They didn't have an ATM, and I had to copper up money that we'd dropped on the floor and everything, just so that we could get a few gallons of gas. But we got home. But we finally arrived at our project. Beth earns that money to do the work on the project, and she earns that by doing her realtor. She is now a realtor. She's a licensed realtor, actually. For those of you who would like to see that as a source of making trouble, she is now a licensed realtor. So in fact, she attended the last final oath taking today on the phone. So the money that we get from that, and the money that we have, a very small amount at the moment, with the few views, the few thousands of views that we're getting, it's a small amount, but it's enough for Beth to have that so that she has money. All of the rest, my 2 pensions, goes on living. And the reason that I actually did take a strong point of view on that was because Beth is a Filipino. She is a hilltop farmer family. That's her heritage. She's used to doing with nothing. It doesn't scare her to have no money. So with the money that she gets, she will splash it out. If she thinks, well, I could buy another bed for one of the other rooms, she'll go out, and it's as if it's a challenge to get rid of all of the money that is burning a hole in her pocket. She will spend the last penny or last pesos on buying another bed for the rooms in our resort. So I have to make sure that we have the money so that we're never caught in an emergency, and we would always have gas in the truck to go to Tagbilaran, that we would always have food on the table, that even though we still continue to live very modestly, that we'd have the vitamins that we have been told that we are deficient of, and that we would be able to have a life. Someone actually said, when I wrote a video advising on which visa, the resident visa, which I particularly have found to be the one, he said, well, after all of that advice, don't forget to live a little. And of course, we do live a little. We're very fortunate. I have a lovely wife, and what can I say? You can see around us that we are fortunate now. We've worked bloody hard for it, I can tell you, but we're fortunate, and we know that. So for us, that's the way that we work it, so that she has money. And there's one thing that I think when I hear foreigners who are very firmly in the role of, it's my money, I have worked for it, it's my pension, and I will control the money, and I will give you a budget, and you must work to the budget. And it gets into the pointing the finger thing. And I often think about that example of, I used to have an aquarium in the UK, and I used to enjoy keeping tropical fish. And the saying is, when you keep a fish in an aquarium, if it's a fish that grows pretty big, left in enough space, if it's in an aquarium that is this big, it will grow this big. And if it's in an aquarium that's this big, it will grow this big. So its surroundings and its environment, the way that it's treated, will curb its growth. And my feeling is that if you treat your wife like she is something of a high-class employee, that's how she will blossom. Only to that extent. For me, I've always considered Beth is something of a wizard with money. She is, once she got the hang of that, that was before we started the resort, she became the demon wizard at saving. That's why we were able to do the things we did and pay cash for them, and that has become our mantra. So that's what's worked for us. So if you have someone who is an intelligent, capable woman, think twice before you limit her growth into the amazing partner that she could be if you give her the space to do so. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.